Up to this point, we have been typing in a lot of expressions, and most of those expressions have contained pictures in them. When we want to use the same picture for multiple different expressions, we have to either do a lot of copying and pasting or inserting. It would make things a lot easier if we had a way to store that picture in some way to be able to use it multiple times. Well, Racket has just the way to do that, as in most computer programming languages, and that's in storing it in a variable. So I'm going to start off with our require picturing programs, and let's go ahead and define a picture. I'm going to use my frog picture, so I'll call it frog. Insert the image here. Get to my images. Find the frog that I liked. Open it. Don't forget to close the parentheses. And now when I run my definitions window, it looks like nothing happened, but if I type into the interactions window the word frog, I actually do get my picture of the frog. So frog is a variable. We've defined that variable to represent our picture frog. So whatever else we want to do, suppose we want to do a beside frog and another frog, that'll work just as we would expect it to. Okay? Or if we want to do something like a flip vertical frog, okay? Works just fine. Okay? I'm going to hit run here again to clear out that interactions window. One of the naming conventions, this isn't required, but it's just encouraged. Whenever you define a variable to represent a literal, something short like an image or later on a number or a string, something like that, it's kind of common practice to put that variable in capital letters so it kind of stands out. So now when we run this, again, we've now defined capital frog to be our frog. It's not a function, so we don't have to put the parenthesis in front of it. We only have to put a parenthesis in front of things that are functions. So if we do something like rotate 180 frog, we can do that. Now let's talk a little bit more about the names of our variables. Frog is a variable name. Racket allows you to use just about anything in the name of a variable, except a few things. Some things you cannot use. Let me type these in here so you can see them. Characters not available for variable names. I'm going to put this as a comment here so it doesn't run. They can be made up of letters, numerals, punctuation marks, things that can't contain spaces, can't contain commas. Spaces and commas tell Racket that something new is happening. Can't contain the pound sign, can't contain any parentheses, can't contain any square brackets or curly braces. Okay? Can't contain any quotation marks. Can't contain any apostrophes, can't contain any vertical bars. But pretty much everything else is fair game. Okay. You can define multiple variables, of course. Let's see if we do define, I think I have a picture of cheese in there. So we insert an image. Let's see, there's a cheese picture. There's a picture of cheese. So if I run this, I now have two variables defined, and I can do something like beside frog and cheese. Okay. Now, what happens if we try to type a variable name and that variable name's not defined? For instance, we don't have a train defined here, so if I try to do a variable train, it tells us this variable is not defined. Once you define the variable, you're clear to use it. And you also have to understand that capital and lowercase letters are different things. So our capital frog is fine, but lowercase frog, that variable is not defined. Let me run and clear things again. This also works nice when we want to use the stepper. So if we want to do something a little more complicated, like do a beside and a flip vertical frog and a rotates CW cheese. If we run this, we get what we expected with the frogs flipped vertically and beside the cheese that's rotated clockwise. If we run the stepper, let me enlarge the screen a little bit. We see everything that's happening. We get our required picturing programs. It defines the frog and the cheese. A little red arrow tells us where we're going to start executing things. We step through. It flips vertical the frog. Step again. It rotates the cheese. Step one more time. We're putting the two of them beside one another. Okay. And then we're done. Okay. So the stepper can be used again, even with definitions, to step through your function and see where everything is. This was a short chapter, and that's about everything that's covered in here. See you next video.